Russia keeps losing its Su-34s, and the reason goes far deeper than bad luck or isolated mistakes. This aircraft was designed for moments like this, a large-scale conventional war against a modern enemy with real air defenses, not a permissive environment and not a counterinsurgency. On paper, this should have been the Su-34's defining hour. Instead, it has become the most frequently destroyed Russian combat aircraft of the entire war, and that contradiction tells us something important about how this conflict is actually being fought. The real question is not why Ukraine manages to shoot these aircraft down. The real question is why Russia continues to send one of its most valuable and complex strike platforms into situations where being shot down is increasingly predictable. The Su-34 was never intended to be expendable. It was meant to be the backbone of Russia's tactical air power, the aircraft flown day after day to apply constant pressure across the front, shaping the battlefield through persistence rather than dramatic one-off strikes. From a technical perspective, the Su-34 is a formidable machine. It is a twin-engine strike aircraft with long range, a heavy payload, and a side-by-side cockpit designed to reduce crew fatigue on extended missions. It was built to replace older Soviet bombers and to survive in contested airspace through speed, altitude, and onboard defensive systems. In Russian doctrine, this jet was supposed to carry the war forward once the opening phase was over and air defenses had been suppressed. But Ukraine did not fight the war Russia planned for. Russian strategy was built around speed, shock, and rapid collapse. Planners assumed Ukrainian air defenses would be overwhelmed early, command and control networks would break down, and Russian strike aircraft would soon operate with relative freedom. Ukraine chose a completely different approach. Instead of chasing air superiority, it built air denial. Layered surface-to-air systems, mobile launchers, dispersed sensors, and ambush tactics turned the sky into a hostile environment rather than a controlled one. The goal was never to dominate the air. It was to make flying dangerous and costly. That environment is especially unforgiving for an aircraft like the Su-34 when it is asked to do too much, too often, and too close to the front. Russia continues to rely on it as a multi-role solution to a wide range of problems. In practice, the Su-34 is used as a frontline bomber delivering guided and unguided munitions near the line of contact. It has become a glide bomb carrier, launching standoff weapons from known areas in an attempt to reduce risk while maintaining pressure. At the same time, it is often used to compensate for degraded intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities. Without robust airborne early warning and battle management, Russian planners push strike aircraft forward to identify targets themselves. That forces Su-34 crews closer to the battlefield and keeps them there longer than doctrine ever intended. In some cases, these jets are even pressed into improvised close air support roles, flying lower and slower to compensate for poor coordination and limited situational awareness on the ground. Every one of these mission profiles increases exposure. Over time, repetition creates predictability. Launch zones become familiar. Flight corridors are mapped. Operating altitudes are anticipated. Ukrainian forces have had years to study these patterns and to build layered responses around them. Medium-range surface-to-air missile systems threaten Su-34s as they approach release points. Short-range air defenses fill the gaps closer to the front. Man-portable air defense systems wait for the moment speed or altitude drops just enough to create a firing window. The threat does not end there. Ukrainian fighters now operate with targeting information supplied by Western sensors and networked command systems, extending the kill chain far beyond what Russian planners originally anticipated. This is not a story about pilot incompetence or a fundamentally flawed aircraft. It is about role mismatch in a war that punishes predictability and rewards rapid adaptation. Ukraine does not need to destroy every Su-34 to win this contest. It only needs to make each sortie costly. And it has succeeded. Roughly a quarter of Russia's pre-war Su-34 fleet has been confirmed destroyed, and that number is likely conservative. Production has increased, and new airframes are being built, but modern air power is more than just replacing metal. Every aircraft lost represents highly trained crews who require years of flight hours, simulator time, and operational experience to replace. Attrition also erodes maintenance capacity. High-tempo strike operations demand skilled technicians, specialized tools, and a steady supply of spare parts. As losses mount, aircraft are cannibalized to keep others flying, shrinking the effective fleet even further. Sanctions complicate repairs and slow the flow of critical components, stretching recovery timelines. Upgrades meant to improve survivability arrive unevenly. Some aircraft receive better electronic warfare systems and countermeasures, while others remain dangerously exposed. This creates a force with inconsistent protection facing an opponent that adapts far faster than Russia can modernize. Ukraine adjusts its defenses in weeks. Russia needs years. Glide bombs and longer standoff attacks became Russia's answer. Tactically, they reduced exposure. Strategically, they signaled a concession. The Su-34 can no longer operate where it was meant to dominate. Glide bombs trade accuracy for distance and rely on predictable launch profiles. They still require the aircraft to survive long enough to release their weapons, and Ukraine has adapted by hunting those launch zones. The most important shift, however, is that Ukraine no longer focuses solely on shooting Su-34s down in the air. It increasingly destroys them on the ground. Long-range drones and deep strike attacks hit airfields far from the front, disrupting operations before sorties even begin. Every aircraft destroyed there represents lost pilot rotations, broken maintenance cycles, and a reduced ability to sustain pressure. Russia is not losing because its jets are inferior in isolation. It is losing resilience. When Ukrainian fighters down Russian strike aircraft using networked targeting and shared sensor data, the story is not about one jet outperforming another. It is about integration, coordination, and learning faster than the enemy. Silence from Moscow is easier than explaining why its premier bomber keeps flying into carefully prepared traps. The Su-34 is not a bad aircraft. That is the uncomfortable truth. It is a capable platform trapped inside a doctrine that no longer fits the war being fought. Russia built a bomber for a war of control. Ukraine turned the conflict into a war of denial. And in a denied sky, even capable aircraft bleed. Until Russia fundamentally changes how it fights, the Su-34 will continue to do exactly what it has done throughout this war: fly predictable missions into hostile airspace, get targeted by an adaptive enemy, and fail to return home.